Hello, and welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. I am being joined today by Peter and Phil, and my name is Kelly. You can certainly see our bios and our friendly faces at unfilteredvetdiscussions.com. You can also find us on your favorite social media platform. Come like and share, as well as various podcasts like Spotify or Apple or Google. Please join us, subscribe, and follow. Today, we are going to be talking about the future of urgent care. And this was mostly because of an announcement at VMX. Peter, do you want to fill us in on this?
Yeah, I mean, it came to light towards the end of January that VCA was going to shrink its urgent care footprint, and they are closing at least 17 of their urgent care facilities in 5 different states. And that's as of the end of January. Um, they opened them in 2022, so not that long ago. So my question is, since Mars is the largest corporate owner of veterinary hospitals, is this a reflection of corporate veterinary medicine? Is it a reflection of urgent care within veterinary medicine, et cetera? So we're in a very interesting economic status because I saw the numbers from VetSource today that showed both transactions and revenue down for the second report in a
Hmm.
row. So what's going on in the veterinary profession? And is this the beginning of a tipping point in terms of hospitals and their ability to sustain in the face of client pushback, cost of care, et cetera, et cetera? So I don't have an answer, but I think it warrants a interesting discussion. And Kelly, obviously, it could impact you because
Mhm.
of the need to improve marketing for existing hospitals. It may even increase their ability to see clients. And Phil, you're in the middle of all of this as well. So
Hmm.
the question is, how did you feel when you heard this? How did you take
Yeah.
the announcement?
I gotta say I wasn't necessarily surprised. And I think that that's a reflection of, just what we're seeing on the ground in our hospital versus, from 2020, with COVID on until now, as far as capacity, open appointment slots, and capacity for us to get same day appointments into our hospital. And I think so. What it'd be interesting to see is, American Veterinary Group. They have, I think they're the ones that have Urgent Vet, which kind of got onto the scene a couple years, 3 or 4 years maybe before that, and we're kind of right at that sweet spot of filling in that area where during COVID we were just at capacity, and people were getting, clients were saying, I can't, I can't get in to see my vet for, like 6 weeks. And so, yeah, I think it's, to your point, Peter, I think it's yes, of what is there, but from an, boots on the ground, perspective, I just think it's the capacity issue isn't where it was, 3 years ago. I think we in veterinary medicine have, and this is just subjectively from, speaking with other veterinarians, and then to your point, seeing some of the data, is we're at a capacity where we're able to see, the urgent care model cases. We're able to see the ear infections and skin cases, and kind of diarrhea, those types of things that are unpleasant for the dog, but maybe not emergent. And yeah, so what about you, Peter? What are you seeing in all? I know you've got knowledge all over the industry. What's your take?
Well, I was in the middle of the Veterinary Medical Association in Southern California during the pandemic. And so, with 1,000 hospital members, we were hearing the stories of 2 week waits and
Mhm.
clients
Yep.
upset and everything else.
Yeah.
And I would say, Phil and Kelly, I would love your input on this as well, that I had never heard of a veterinary urgent care hospital prior to
Yeah.
March of 2020 and the pandemic. By the
No.
way, I think Kelly, we need to put a pin in this one.
Okay.
5 years post-pandemic,
Okay.
where is the veterinary profession for a future podcast when we have a bigger group? Because I think
Yeah.
that's a great
That
Yeah.
is a
conversation for
great
time.
topic. We've
Yeah.
covered a
Yeah.
lot of ground since that timeline, right? So yeah,
Yes. So, do you guys remember there actually being a hospital that was a quote unquote urgent care prior to the pandemic?
not
No.
solo.
No.
No. I mean, they would say maybe on the marketing, you know, really actually they were either general practice that did ER or an ER, there wasn't that middle slice of ground. They would just talk about it a little bit differently from a marketing point of view, but no, but I think you're right, Phil, that the demand of all these animals during COVID and things pushed this new vector to open up to handle the demand. But as Peter, you were saying the numbers are going down, and we're seeing it too. I still have two camps. I have clients who are just fine and they're full and they're robust and you know, pets are coming in and out of the doors on a healthy, consistent basis. And then we see clients who are like, I could really use some more pets coming through the door. Um, and it's geographically focused sometimes it's not. But it's they have more capacity now to what we're seeing to handle those urgent. Oh my God, Fluffy did something today. I need to bring him
Mhm.
in, and a lot more. There's a lot more flexibility, elasticity that we are seeing in the system.
Yeah. I
So
think too from go ahead, Peter.
what we saw during the pandemic is because practices were exceeding capacity, physically, psychologically, is they would decline to see cases. And there were pet owners calling around, especially in the teeth of the early parts of the pandemic, calling around to try to find a hospital. And
Yeah.
very many were turning them down.
Mhm.
So I think urgent care was a bright, shiny object that developed out of a capacity issue to pick up the leftovers that veterinary practices were incapable or unwilling to see. Because even during the pandemic, the surgeons got super busy
Yeah.
because the generalists were referring surgical cases that they used to do all the
That they
time,
normally did. Yeah.
Yeah.
cystotomies, lump removals, etc. So it was a great pressure release valve during the pandemic, but I think some of the pressures have been decreased. And I think many practices are feeling that it's like 2019, 2018 again in terms
Yeah.
of their
Yeah.
busyness. Is that how
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
feeling, Phil?
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, to your point, Peter, is I think a lot of us, necessity is the mother of invention, is that we retooled a lot of our scheduling system to, if we didn't have a robust ability to schedule for urgent same day appointments, we ended up making that happen. And that too has increased the capacity, where I think demand has gone down, and then because of innovation, even though we always get accused of being stuck in the 1990s sometimes, but I think most veterinary practices to some degree change the way that they practice to ensure that it wasn't just, oh well, we'll find a way to work it in, is that there was something structural that was done to ensure that we weren't overworking the staff, and that we did have the capacity to see same day appointments.
I think Phil, you kind of bring up a point, and Peter, I think there's a psychological shift going on here too, a little bit, so pre 2020, we had an ebb and flow of, clients coming in and out of the door, seeing pets and things like that. And then we had this experience where hospitals were flooded, bright and shiny for their urgent care was the release valve. And now we've gone back But how much do people, how did they manage their practices for one? And we've talked about
Mhm.
this before, but I mean, you trip over yourself and you had a 6 week wait during COVID and you didn't have to worry about cash flow very much because it was literally on your doorstep and the phone ringing. And I remember people posting in my local next door, oh my God, I need to see a vet today. Where do I go? And there was 100+ responses from people just on, no, let next door for people don't know, kind of work by zip code. So it's very isolated. It's a very small geographical area. So that was kind of stunning to see that many responses. And now people are looking around going, wow, do I remember 2018 and 2019? How do I market? How do I get tails through the door? What does
Yeah.
that look like? Am I managing my books? I mean, we're actually having people going, what am I paying for now?
If you remember the Great Recession, um, during that period of time, many veterinary hospitals were, you could shoot a cannonball through them and not hit anybody. And in the urban suburban areas, many veterinarians were accepting anything and doing things that they maybe shouldn't have done medically and or surgically because they needed cash flow to be able to sustain their practice and keep their staff. So here we are 12, 15 years later during the pandemic, and now we're super, as you said, super cash flow. So we don't need to see people.
Mm-mm.
However, we really didn't do a very good job of focusing on retaining our best clients. So I would suggest,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think my friend in marketing would validate this, is that we actually pushed some of our best clients out of the way because we were trying to see too many people. And so now all of a sudden we're in this dilemma. The cash flow is okay, but it's mostly driven by fee increases, not by seeing more people.
100%.
And if I have a cystotomy, hell, I'm going to cut that because that's, well, it's $8,000 at a specialty
Mm.
hospital and it's $3,000 here. And, maybe I can accommodate one more person because the appointment book isn't filled. So really the question is, what's urgent care going to look like down the road? And I think there's a difference between urgent care and a general practice, unless the general practice is doing urgent care. It's the difference between a transaction and a relationship. Urgent care, when I took my kids into urgent care, I wasn't looking for a primary care physician and to build a relationship. I was looking to put out a fire and move on. And I think that's where urgent care fit in, is it put out a fire and moved on. So what is the future going to look like for urgent care? And boy, I'm in California talking about fires. Maybe I shouldn't use that. But what is the future of urgent care if there are no fires to put out?
Do we have the answer to that? Probably not.
No, but I do think that it's a great opportunity for generalists to think about how they work their appointment book, how they use
Mhm.
their doctors, and especially in multi-doctor facilities, to even have one doctor who is scheduled for walk-ins, drop-offs, and urgent
Yeah.
care, so that you
Right.
can say we're available. What happened during the pandemic is we said we're not available. What we
Mhm.
need to be saying right now is we are available, and to keep our relationship with you, you can not only come here for well care and for sick care, but if something comes up, we will try to accommodate you today as well.
Yeah. And the willingness too is, is saying, if I have, I think the real willingness for, general practices to offload that was out of necessity, is we literally can't, we don't have the capacity to bring one more patient in, and we were happy to be able to refer those, to urgent care. But if I've got 4 appointment slots open, I'm not going to be referring, an appointment off to, to urgent care for, whatever it is. And I think that's it. Just going back to demand, is that, that's where it is. And it's interesting too, the model of what the urgent cares are, are designed to do is, they're not going to see, like, if you've got a dyspneic animal, it's probably not, and they're not always going to be the ones that they may not even tell you to come in, if it is something that's emergent or perceived to be emergent just from the history. And so, what is that something now, is an ear infection. And even if it is the next day, it's like if we tell the client, even if we happen to be at capacity that day and they call at 5 o'clock, hey, we'll get you in first thing tomorrow morning. Is that client going to, and I don't know the answer, but I think we're able to offer an option next day where we didn't have that option before. And would that client rather see, the veterinarian they built the relationship with the next day, versus where it was, we don't have an opening for the next 2 weeks. And I don't think any hospital is saying that, today.
Yeah, we're in an interesting time. And so for those independent hospitals that are out there, it's a great opportunity to market yourself and grow your relationships by talking about same day availability. Don't call it urgent care, call it same day availability. I think urgent care is a niche, and I give tremendous credit for those practices that were there, and I appreciate what they did to help
Mm-hmm.
veterinarians during the crisis times that we had. And I would also suggest that they fill a gap in certain demographics of the country that are still dealing with capacity issues, because there are
Yeah.
some practices and especially the rural suburban niche areas that the urban areas, it should not be a problem for in
Yeah.
most cases to be seen today
Yeah.
in the suburban areas as well. So same day availability is a great marketing tool to look at with your clients, and especially your A clients, is we will always see you on the day that you want to be seen.
Yeah.
I've
And
even,
that's how you build a relationship.
so some other businesses not in the veterinary space do this. And I've recommended this to my more willing to be out of the box clients, is if you have 4 appointment slots, you're looking at your books tomorrow for 4 appointment slots. You can send out an email to your client/patient base and say, we have the ability to see wellness appointments for 10% off tomorrow or 15% off tomorrow, right? Or put it up in your social media, wherever you want to market it. I mean, there's various platforms out there, but 85% is better than zero for that
Well,
spot, right? Mhm.
yeah, that's really interesting, Kelly. I wonder if just thinking about how busy we are,
Mhm.
is that, is saying, oh yeah, I had, Fluffy's annual was scheduled, next month. What if we did, and not to say that we couldn't do a discount, but just getting out that there is a sense of this is an opportunity, like
Yes,
where we couldn't get out, is not even saying the discount, but just saying, are you scheduled in the next 2 months, as like that, safety of the, and addressing any concerns, that safety wise, they're fine, that's the,
you know,
can I come in a month early? Is that okay? Is my dog going to be safe if they get, vaccines a month early on a 3-year rotation? Yes. That's a really great point. Just from a human behavior standpoint and how busy we are, I just wonder, like, hey, if I've got an opportunity and just take my dog for a ride, and I can get this done and take something off the list where the value prop is for that. Yeah.
yeah. So either a discount, it depends on your demographic, and every location has
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
their demographic, right? So I'm going to say, please, 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 I always talk about this, get a handle on who your demographic is.
Hmm.
Where they shop, their funding, their age, etc. But here, I'm going to leap on that. We're in Minnesota. Today it was 10 below with a wind chill of 20 below. But eventually, we all know, hope and pray, spring is around the corner, which is flea and tick season here in a vengeance, as you well know, Phil, being up in Michigan a couple of times.
Hmm. Yeah.
Get ahead of it. Be prepared.
So let me play off that a little bit as well. When I work with hospitals, from a scheduling standpoint, I always suggest that they leave 2 appointments in the morning and 2 in the afternoon open
Yeah,
anyhow
right.
for emergencies, clients who want to come in,
Yeah.
etc. I think if we continue to see the slow decline of veterinary appointments from transaction wise, I think marketing to them is a great idea. Restaurants have done that all the time. They'll post it on, they'll regionalize their Twitter posts to the 3 miles around the restaurant to get people to fill in appointment slots that are there. We could do that in veterinary medicine as well. Especially, it would be great for new clients. If you're having difficulty finding a veterinarian, we have a slot this morning at 10 a.m. and a slot this afternoon at 2 that we'd love to see you at. That takes a social media initiative that most practices do not have in place and do not think of until after the fact. But, Phil, you're smiling because you
I
know
am.
exactly
I
what I'm
am.
talking about.
Well, I don't know if I just dawned on me. I have Erin's card here, and she was in the startup circle, and that was what her business model was. And the startup circle was taking almost like a next door, for that, and saying, grouping together these open appointment slots and then having them do do the work to do. And yeah, just so there's always somebody smarter than me thinking of things. But yeah, so it'd be interesting to see, how how successful that is for her, as far as, offloading that area of opportunity to a third party.
Yeah, so there are two
Yeah.
ways to look at availabilities, and one is for your existing clients who want to be seen the same day. So we always kept
Mhm.
those 2 appointments open for same day appointments or emergencies. The other thing, and I don't know why we didn't do more of this during the pandemic because we used our parking lot, but drop-off services to me were the
Oh, yeah.
greatest thing that veterinarians ever came up with. It's because just leave your pet, send the client home. You have no pressure. You get the exam done. You have your staff make a phone call. I mean, we made people wait in the parking lot instead of using the empty kennels and having clients drop pets off and go home. So we don't always think proactively. We do think much
Yeah.
reactively, but I do think we could always create a business model for same day availability that essentially usurps urgent care and keeps the relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
You got to get on it now.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
Mhm.
And for marketing these services, you know, sometimes we see people come through and go, I need a silver bullet today, which is ads, by the way, for anybody who's listening, and it's expensive. But good marketing takes 3 to 4 months to ramp up and get
Mhm.
into Google's good graces, which is changing drastically. That's a whole nother conversation in social media and things like that. So don't think you're just gonna shift today and your door's gonna flood through tomorrow with, patients. You kind of have to have a runway on this one.
So I want
Yeah.
to suggest that this action by VCA is a flare that we should be aware of.
Mhm.
Whether we should hyperreact to it or not is still to be determined. But I think we should take it as a message that things are changing and that it would behoove us to get ahead of the curve and not wait to see what's around the curve. And so remember, your best clients provide you with 80%, 50% of your clients give you 80% of your profit. 20% of your, excuse me, 20% of your clients give you 80% of your profit, 50% of
Yeah.
your clients give you 95% of your profit. Let's make sure we don't lose track of that 50% of your clientele who wants to retain the relationship with your practice, and focus on those, market to those, lock them in, and try to figure out how you can be the place that they think of first when it comes down to veterinary care. Urgent care gave clients a choice. You have the opportunity to take that choice away and bring it back into your hospital.
And with that, I think we're at a really good summary, Peter, to end today's podcast. Thank you
Mm.
very much, gentlemen, for the conversation. We look forward to having you participate in future podcasts, listeners. Again, please follow us on social media and the podcast channels. So when our new episodes drop on Friday, you will get notice of the next conversation coming up. Until then, we wish you adieu with the official Unfiltered Vet Discussions wave that we've all adopted. Yeah. And everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.